It was basically the 1965 Act that eliminated the national origin quota system and the Asian Pacific Triangle. Up to that year, we had 125 Asians that were permitted to come in here, all based upon the discriminatory parts of American policy. The Torah and the Talmud teach us that we must welcome the stranger in our midst. It's written in Leviticus that the stranger who resides with you shall be to you as one of your citizens, and you shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. If we refuse
At the time of the 1965 immigration law, it was widely stated by Teddy Kennedy and many others that this act would not change the ethnic balance of the country. And yet the very same people who were behind this law immediately, as soon as it was passed, did everything they could to increase the number to the point now where it's about 1 million legal immigrants a year, plus uncounted hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants.
Chinese, we just recently had some Croatians. Last summer, a great number of Brazilians. Geez, I think from everywhere. And, or, you know, Guatemalans and Salvadorians and Colombians and you name it.
Very interesting to look at what Jewish organizations have done recently. They have allied with Mexican-American groups. They've allied with Asian groups. They've allied with black groups. In other words, they see themselves as part of a coalition of ethnic groups, and very self-consciously so. And those groups are going to become increasingly strong as time goes on because they're representing a greater and greater percentage of the population. But they see themselves, I think, as they have from the time they got here, as opposing the interests of European Americans. I don't think there's any question about that. People who oppose immigration, they talk about, well, there are economic problems and this and that. No one simply says, Europeans are not going to benefit from this as a group, that we are giving up control of our country to other peoples. That there's a huge problem with this. That when you are a minority group, you better hope that the other groups in society are nice to you. Well, we Europeans should be concerned that our future will be as a minority group. And we will then be at the whim of coalitions that may have very hostile intent towards us. That we will lose control of our own future. That's the issue here. It's as simple as that. But even raising European ethnic interests is the big taboo of this period right now. We can't even raise the possibility that Europeans have ethnic interests. It's the taboo topic. And yet everybody else has ethnic interests, which are legitimate.
The idea that diversity is a strength in mixing people, it's not a strength. The strength comes from the homogeneity and having people who are basically alike. I mean, diverse people break up because they don't want to be around the other people. That's just natural. You don't see diverse species getting together and mingling in nature. You see them avoiding each other or fighting for territory. And the white man knows all this. He doesn't know it at the level of facts and specific understandings, but he senses the spirit of the times. No rational person would open the border with Mexico for 100 reasons.
I think that ethnic conflict, we can already see that on the horizon. And I think we're already getting to the point in this country, white people are now 70%. As you get towards 50%, you're going to see increasing amounts of that, where other ethnic groups are simply going to start flexing their muscles, and they're going to demand a greater presence of, say, Spanish in the public place. We're going to see more Spanish spoken in public arenas. We're going to see the decline of Western culture. We're going to see increases in affirmative action directed for underachieving minorities. And I think young white people are going to feel the brunt of this. One of the problems I think right now is that most middle-class white people don't feel these pressures. Their children are going to feel them, and I think it's the children who are going to change and start to exert their interest. Because if they don't exert their interest, they're going to be the first group in history that hasn't exerted their interest, and it's as simple as that.
The problem is for the next generation. That's when the hurt's going to come about. You know, you can't have a country. I think the Roman Empire proved it. The Roman Empire was very aggressive, was very strong. They ruled half of the world, I guess. And so what happened after they ruled half of the world? They got soft in body and mind. They had all these slaves come and do all their work and did everything for them. So what happens? Eventually the slaves took over. The Roman Empire just was thrown away. You gotta stay organized. One language, one group of people.